Hello, it's Dr. Jackie Taylor. We are in our final week, week 10 for ECD 106. We're looking at using program assessment to look at children in groups and also using the portfolio for communication with families and looking at children's interactions with adults. Assessing early childhood programs. The observation and recording method of this section is not focused on the child, but the program. Several program evaluation tools are presented to familiarize the reader with options available to assess the quality of early childhood programs. There are many reasons to assess a program: to evaluate against a standard, to assess program to its stated mission and philosophy, receive feedback from constituencies, customers, and funders, assess program suitability for an individual child, provide measures of accountability. Families are the most important evaluators. There are many aspects that a family considers when selecting an early childhood program for their child. Location. Will it be convenient to drop off and pick up my child? Affordability. How much does the program charge per week? Curriculum. What does the program offer that will meet the needs of my child? Philosophy. What is the mission or purpose of this program? Class size. How many children will be with my child? Other children. Will there be children who will be like my child in the program? Staff. What are the qualifications of the people who will interact with my child? Environment. Do the indoor and outdoor areas fit my child's needs? Policies. What are the rules that I need to know? Schedule. Do the hours of operations meet my need for childcare? Communication. Do we inform each other of important news? Supplies. What is required for me to bring with the child each day? Word of mouth. What is the reputation of the program? It is also an exercise in professionalism to visit other programs. Look for accomplishments, not just the deficits. Specific praise raises self-esteem. As a professional courtesy, write a note of appreciation for allowing the visit and mention a specific aspect that you liked. In 2014, 36 states launched the Quality Rating and Improvement System, QRIS, initiatives to raise the quality of early childhood programs in their state through a system of rating systems with participation either voluntarily or linked to state and private funding for improvement. The ratings are aligned with state early learning standards and regulatory requirements, and they can assist consumers in educating themselves and communicating about early childhood education quality. Accreditation is a program evaluation completed on-site by an outside body, usually a professional organization, for the purpose of recognizing programs that meet pre-established criteria. The accreditation process usually begins with extensive self-study that leads to improvements in the program before the validation visit. Fees are charged for accreditation, and usually some kind of periodic reports are required to describe the maintenance of the level of quality. Families can use accreditation as a measuring tool when selecting a program. See Figure 14-3 for a comparison chart of some of the program evaluation systems. The Child Development Center at Greenville Technical College is accredited by NAEYC. There are some formal program assessment tools that can be used as a self-study by the administration or by a consultant to evaluate a particular type of program for program improvement purposes. An internal self-study with the staff considering quality criterion items, standards set by an outside source, is less threatening. It is not taken as criticism or personal bias, but as objective benchmarks against which to compare. When evaluations are done by the director or administrator, it gives them first-hand information about the program, recognizing its strengths. It may also indicate areas that need attention from which they can implement change. Read more about these assessment tools in your textbook. The single most critical element of quality in child care is the staff who care and educate the children. Listed on this slide are some of the instruments created to measure aspects of early childhood human resources. The influence of the environment has been an emphasis as a powerful force in each area of development. The teacher is responsible for creating an appropriate cognitive, emotional, and social environment. She is responsible for maintaining a safe environment. How to find the time. Plan to do a yearly assessment. Self-assessment is important, but an outside assessor should be used also. Using technology. Any of the rating systems for program assessment mentioned in this chapter can be tabulated electronically. What to do with it? The report should be used for program improvement. The report results should be communicated to those who have a need to know and those who should know. Some program assessment awards bring financial gains as well in the form of increased child care subsidies, staff bonuses, and center quality enhancement stipends. Press releases, press conferences, letters to government officials, and notices to board members and local agencies all bring positive recognition to the program. By using internal and external evaluation methods, programs measure and maintain the quality necessary for the safety, health, growth, and development of the children they serve. I like that program assessments can be used to improve the program. I do not like that they can often be costly. Stop the video and think about the Greenville Tech Child Development Center or the center where you work. Evaluate the center using the questions on the following slides. Think about what are the strengths and think about what are the challenges. The physical environment. Stop the video and think about the following questions. The staff. Stop the video and think about the following questions. More questions about the staff. Stop the video and think about these questions. Family relations. Stop the video and think about these questions. The organization and administration. Stop the video and think about these questions. The overall program. Stop the video and think about these questions. The overall program continued. Stop the video and think about these questions. Moving on. Looking at the adjustment of the child to the program. A program may be a good fit for one child, but not for another. This section is not about measuring a child's development directly, but about observing the child's adjustment and how the child is benefiting from the program. Every quality program may not be a good place for every child. Families and program staff evaluate whether the child's needs are being met. Sometimes a program may not meet the needs of children. There may be a continuality between the children's home situation and the philosophy of the school. There are behavioral signs that the child is emotionally, physically, socially, and cognitively comfortable at the program, or the opposite may occur. The child may strongly protest attending or indicate a lack of comfort through the regressive behaviors of bedwetting, thumb-sucking, or earlier stage behaviors. There are many factors that influence the child's adjustment to the program. When there are too many children or the group is too large, a child's adjustment or even well-being are jeopardized. Different activities depend on a certain number of people to be successful, the size of the task at hand and the skill required. or the occasion are also factors in group size. Most center-based child care centers and public schools group children by chronological age. Grouping children by age assumes that children who are in the same age have similar needs and interests. Continuity of care is a practice of child care advancing children as a cohort, staying together with the same teachers. In this approach, the children, families, and teachers become very well known to each other. Mixed age groups most resemble the family group with the members of different ages. This gives children the opportunity to observe, imitate, and learn from older ones. It gives older children occasions to practice nurturing skills, reteach learned skills, and feel competent. The size of the group and the adult-child ratio matters a great deal. Group sizes should be based on children's ages, with smaller groups for younger children to ensure safe, nurturing care and learning opportunities. Whole group times help children feel a common bond, a sense of community. These times can include singing, finger plays, large motor games, and musical games, and even creative movement. There are many programs that include counting the days on the calendar and reciting the days of the week and the months of the year. These are abstract principles not readily understood by most young children. This exercise is rote memorization without much value. This time could be better spent on other topics of relevant interest to the children. What do you think? Show and tell usually involves long waiting. The children become disinterested in someone else's object because they are egocentric. The pressure builds to show bigger and better toys. There are reasons present contrary evidence of its worth. What are your ideas? Transition times need planning, with just as much considerations as the activities themselves. Routine signals such as bells, music, gentle whispers, and simple games all give children a clue rather than a command that it's time to make a change. Developmentally appropriate practice is a set of core principles that guide teaching and learning in the early years. The teacher is knowledgeable of child development in general and the appropriate age and development level of each child in the group. The curriculum is planned based on meeting the children where they are and enabling them to reach goals that are achievable for each individual. At the same time, the curriculum should be challenging, culturally and linguistically responsive, and respectful to all children and families in the program, comprehensive across all developmental domains. The curriculum is implemented based on an explicit philosophy and likely to promote positive outcomes for all children. Centers should be using evidence-based curriculum or curriculum that has been proven by research to measure the effectiveness in making a difference in the lives of children to accomplish its goals. There are many curriculum models that promote children's development and learning, each with unique features. Each has a philosophy about learning approaches, the prepared learning environment, and the role of the teacher. This slide shows a few of the evidence-based curriculum models. A long-term study was launched in 1991 to discover the effects of early care and education experiences on development, how important the quality of the child care is, how child care compares to parenting at home, and the effect child care has on later achievement. The study found that parenting quality is a stronger influence on children's cognitive and social-emotional development than child care. Additionally, a 2006 study found that children cared for by their mothers did not develop differently than those cared for by others. Children in child care were exposed to more common communicable illnesses than children raised at home. Children who spent the most hours in child care had at age 5 more behavior disruptions and disobedience and aggression at home and school. Extensive child care predicted less social competence and cooperation and more problem behaviors, negative mood, aggression, and conflict. Children in daycare settings demonstrated a greater ability to form relationships with peers and adults than children who did not attend daycare, and also had more positive interactions with their mothers. Entering child care in the first year of life was linked to behavior problems at age 4 and 7 and 8. Children in higher quality non-maternal child care had better language and cognitive development in the first 4 years of life. Children who attended a pre-K program scored higher on reading and math tests than children receiving parental care. Children attending pre-K, especially Hispanic children, showed gains in letter word recognition and a 6-month gain in problem solving. High-quality care makes a difference in children's cognitive development. All of the many research studies, what matters most is consistent, responsive, sensitive parenting, regulated child care with low adult ratios, and educated teachers who are warm and nurturing. There has been an alarming trend that children who have been kicked out of preschools or child care at higher rates than grades K through 12. The expulsions or suspensions have occurred at higher rates for boys and girls and for African American children than for any other races. This national problem has come to the attention of both the Federal Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services, who has issued a joint policy statement on expulsion and suspension practices with recommendations to early education programs for developing and clearly communicating preventative guidance and discipline practices, developing and clearly communicating expulsion and suspension policies, and implementing those policies uniformly and without bias. Investing and continuously growing the skills of the early childhood workforce, focusing on children's social, emotional, and behavioral health, strengthening partnerships with families, employing strategies to prevent and correct implicit and explicit biases, and conducting universal developmental and behavioral screening and appropriate follow-up, setting goals and analyzing trends in data to assess progress in reducing expulsion and suspension, and making use of free resources to enhance staff training and strengthen family partnerships. Planning and consideration of many factors ensure a successful placement for children with special needs in regular classrooms. Developmental levels rather than age grouping. Placing children with special needs with younger children decreases their developmental differences. Ratio of integrated children in the classroom. Some have suggested that when only 1 or 2 children with special needs are integrated into a group, they still experience isolation. When more than 1 and up to 1/3 of the class of children are special needs, true integration is more likely to be successful. Individualized learning experiences. The curriculum for all children should be based on their interests and their strengths, building on what they can do and modifying the environment and activities so that each child finds success is the principle of developmentally appropriate curriculum for all children. Partnerships with families. The families of children with special needs must be advocates for their own child. They should be involved in educational decisions about their child and must monitor their child's progress appropriately. The placement decision for children with special needs must be carefully considered so that their abilities are maximized and needs are met. Low staff ratios with consistent primary caregivers, safe, attractive, and interesting environments, and quality relationships between the program, caregivers, and home are all important to the infant and toddler's adjustment to group settings. English language learners need to develop language and literacy skills in their family's home language and be supported in developmentally appropriate environments that support their cultural and linguistic needs as well as cognitive and social needs. When they are in settings where they can observe, touch, listen, talk, and interact informally and playfully, they will be motivated in their own literacy development. Stop the video and match the type of observation to the program area. Now let's check our responses. Frequency counts, teachers' use of slang words. Time samples, measure of adult presence in learning areas. Interviews, family-teacher conferences, checklists, safety checklists, anecdotal records, teacher stories, work samples, bulletin boards, observation, accreditation assessors. And remember, these are for program assessment, so these observations are a little different than child observations. Using the portfolio for communication with families and looking at the child's interactions with adults. Communication with families. All through our textbook week by week, sharing observations with children and their families has been emphasized. This shows that the child is being watched and listened to by a person who knows child development in general and this child in particular. When the family knows the child is not only safe, but is also learning and developing while out of their care, they can feel secure and gain respect for the program and the teacher. Families who feel secure about the child's program can become better partners in the child's learning. To form a partnership, a shared responsibility for the time the child is in your care, in your class, attention needs to be given to the family and the school relationship. Epstein suggests 6 types of family involvement. Parenting. Promote family and foster parenting skills. Communication. Establish regular and meaningful two-way communication between home and school. Volunteering. Welcome, value, and recruit parental support and assistance in school activities. Learning at home. Families play an integral part in assisting student learning. School decision making. Include parents in school decisions. Collaborating with the community. Identify and use community resources and services to strengthen schools, families, and children. Through their personal contact with the teacher and other program staff, families will build trust in the program. This trust is extended in various ways through the year, through daily contact, written communications, progress reports, and conferences. Whatever the mode, these communications should be positive, descriptive, and personal. Teachers have ethical responsibilities to families to collaborate with them, to offer specialized knowledge, to interact with respect, and to use NAEYC Ethical Code of Conduct. There are many vehicles for communication with families. This slide shows some of the many types. Section 15-1D of your textbook will provide more information for each of these types of communication. Using portfolios. A portfolio is an individual folder for each child in the class that gathers information from multiple sources. The portfolio may hold many pieces of the child's work, teacher's observations, photos, and video or audio recordings. All portfolios should be stored in a locked file cabinet or file box to ensure that they are accessible only to authorized people. The portfolio should be available to the family upon request and to the child. Contributors to the portfolio are the child. The child can contribute work samples such as drawings, artwork, samples of writing and language. Media such as audio and video recordings and photographs can also be included. Families. Families submit information to the portfolio on forms and with written comments. Teachers. Teachers submit formal observations, informal observations, and progress reports. Staff. Staff in the program who have contact with a child may write a submission for the portfolio. Even the cook, the bus driver, and the nurse, who all see the child from a different perspective in different settings, will have information to contribute that will be filed in the portfolio. Previous teachers. Previous teachers' records may be passed on in the portfolio. Referral agents. The program and referral agents can exchange information. A release form must be used before information is shared. The class file is not included in the individual child's portfolio since it includes information about all children in the class. Health records are also not included in the portfolio. Concerns or documentation about child abuse is not filed in the portfolio. The teacher's reflective journal is not placed in the child's portfolio. Who can read the portfolio? Families, practitioners, community agencies, and the child. Teachers can use portfolios as progress reports to share short reviews of a child's development with families. They should be positive in tone. They should show some progress that the child has made over time. A comprehensive narrative is called a child study or case study. It can be used as an end-of-the-year report. It can also be sent with the family as the child moves to another program or as a report to referral agency upon the written request of the family. A child study follows much the same format as a progress report, but it amplifies the information given in each area and references comments with the documentation. The child study is extensive because there are so many specific details gathered week by week on which to draw conclusions. The summaries of the child study are also positive, relating what the child can do. One of the best opportunities for two-way communication between the teacher and the family is the family or parent conference. Here are some practical suggestions for family conferences. Make the conference times convenient for the family and provide childcare if needed. Prepare the environment by having comfortable chairs at the same height, next to each other or at right angles, with no tables between, making sure that the location is private so no one else can hear and that there are no interruptions. Be prepared. Have the progress report or child study complete with accompanying documentation or an organized system. Begin with social exchange, greetings, and small talk, then lead into a summary of the child's strengths, interests, and abilities. Ask open-ended, non-threatening questions. Ask the parents or family members if they have questions, making eye contact, leaning forward, and nodding to their comments. Listen and reflect. Speak in understandable language, not using jargon such as cognitive development, fine motor skills, phonemic awareness. Respect diverse cultures, using the conference to learn more and appreciate diverse cultures and family structures. Summarize and make plans for further contact. End with looking ahead for next year, increasing strengths, development, and challenges of the next grade or program. Avoid giving drill and practice advice, but encourage reading, experimenting outdoors, dramatic play opportunities, and chances to enjoy the summer with lots of family time. It is also useful to discuss the portfolio with the child. Children above 4 years old love to look at their own work. No one wants to hear that there is a problem or a suspicion that something is wrong with their child. It begins with preparation, but is carried out with more listening than talking. If there is a concern for a child in a specific area or areas, it is critically important to gather data. This should be done with the methods that are the least inferential and the most accurate. The anecdotal record meets those criteria. Search for possible causes or influences. In private, the teacher conveys concerns and requests for a conference to discuss those concerns. The teacher may ask the family to think about the areas of concern or give the family some reading material to think about before that meeting. The meeting should begin with social pleasantries. The basis for the concern is presented, referring to the documented evidence. This evidence should be available if needed. The family should have the opportunity to respond with their thoughts on the situation or topic. The teacher's role is to listen. The teacher must remember that the family is the authority on the child. The meeting is conducted with attempts at clear communication and empathy. Possible solutions can be explored. The family and teacher come to a decision and agreement to carry out the next steps. Referral information should be available if the decision is to seek outside help. The program should make every effort to implement the plan the family has made. It is the responsibility of the program to keep the family informed of the actions taken and the results. If the family is taking an action, they should be asked to keep the program informed. A record of the conference's main points, the decisions made, and the actions planned, as well as the follow-up, should be kept in the school's files. Notes of the family conference may be filed in the child's portfolio. The family has the right of access to the portfolio at all times. It remains the property of the school. However, it is the right of the school to decide when to give it to the family or to retain ownership. The program or school implementing a portfolio system should set a policy at that time. Any records retained by the school are kept confidential. Child studies are retained as comprehensive overviews and are property of the program, not the teacher. They can be transferred to other agencies only with the written permission of the family. Class files. Again, the school policy is set for retention of this file. It may be considered the property of the school and retained as a record of that class. It should be used for accountability of the teacher in the program. The class file may be the property of the teacher, kept as a record of the work done that year. The documentation of the class file represents the whole class rather than focusing on individual children. Reflective journal. This is property of the writer. It has been used for personal and professional reflection and represents the thoughts and feelings of the writer. Portfolios for communication with families. I like that portfolios give concrete examples of a child's development. I do not like that portfolios may at times be misunderstood. Looking at the child's interactions with adults. The connection with child-adult interaction should be clear. During most methods of observations and documentation, the child interacts with the adult. The child knows the adult is writing about what he is doing because the teacher tells him. She asks questions about his work and writes about it. Samples of his work are collected for the portfolio the teacher has shown him. He is interviewed, photographed, and recorded. As a result of observation, the adult knows the child from these interactions. The child knows the teacher's unconditional acceptance. She has not told him he is doing it wrong, but has observed and written descriptions of what he is doing without judgment. The adult's role is to prepare the environment. It is also prepared to help children control their own behavior. The equipment and materials are organized, accessible, in good condition, varied, and sufficient for the number of children in the group. The space is divided into clearly defined areas from which to choose, with enough floor or table space to adequately use the materials. Adult interactions with children must be based on developmental norms and appropriate practice principles, so that children are not expected to behave in a way beyond their years or ability. The realistic expectations are stated in terms that children can understand from the positive. What they can rather than what they cannot do. If at all possible, the child with the problem needs to fix it. If the child knocks over someone's block structure, they need to build it back up. If they tear a book, they need to tape it back together. If they hurt another child accidentally or on purpose, they need to provide a portion of soothing treatment, bandage, or cold cloth. In this way, they will see the results of their actions and learn to take responsibility for the care of others. Through observation and appropriate professional practice, the child in group settings can be assessed for physical and psychological safety. Non-punitive, positive guidance techniques are used to help the child gain self-control. The teacher sees the child as an individual, recognizing and respecting cultural differences. Teachers work to help each child to be self-directed, competent, accepted, and a moral individual. As always, respect for family traditions, doing more listening than talking, and viewing the conference as a learning opportunity for all will help make it more successful for the child. Families whose children have special needs must be advocates for their child. They want for their child what every other family wants, an opportunity to learn and be treated equally. For some children to receive what they need in the classroom, some interventions or modifications must be made. Stop the video, read the question and the answers. Select the best answers. Start the video and then move to the next slide. Correct answers are B, C, and D. What is the teacher's ethical role in working with the family? B, to approach interactions with respect. C, to collaborate with the family. And D, to offer specialized knowledge. Stop the video, read the question and the answers. Select the best answer. Start the video and move to the next slide. Correct answer is A. Mr. Amir has a stuffed classroom monkey named Chuckles. Every Friday, Mr. Amir picks out a name of a hat and sends Chuckles home with that student for the weekend. Throughout the weekend, the family takes Chuckles on an outing and writes about it. What type of communication is this? Correct answer is A. Traveling journal. Stop the video, read the question and answers. Select the best answer. Start the video and move to the next slide. Correct answer is C. Why is it important to remember about written notes? C. They are permanent and could be misinterpreted. Stop the video, read the question and the answer. Select the best answers. Correct answers B, D, and E. A portfolio is more than a collection of items. It is data. This data needs to be reviewed and used. What is this data used for? B. It identifies the child's interest. It alerts the teacher to developmental delays. And E. It helps teachers make good decisions about what to teach.